bears. So use the little cards. Did everybody get one of the cards, set of cards? So they're colored. Sometimes it'll be A, B, C, D, sometimes it'll just be color coded. So like a yes, no question, green is yes, red is no. How many of you consider yourself kind of worried or nervous when you go backpacking? Are you worried or nervous about bears? And the point of doing this is that you hold your cards up and people can look around and go like, well, see, I'm not the only one. So raise your card up, yes or no. I see more no's, but certainly some yeses. I will admit that when I took off for my last hike from Athens, Virginia to the southern terminus, yeah, I knew that was one of the sections that I had to deal with. There was going to be a lot of bears on potential, because going through Smoky Mountains is the most black bear populated region of the trail, and I didn't see any. I had one run away from me, and I barely saw Okay. This discussion is mainly about black bears and backpacking. It's not so much about when you're day hiking, though some of it will be relevant to day hiking. And I don't read slides to you. You can do that. Thank you. You're welcome. So like the thing that John was talking about, where there'll be backpacking the loop, would certainly be the kind of thing we're doing. If it's you out backpacking anywhere in the East Coast, black bears are there. If it's day hiking, the stuff we would talk about like lunch or stopping for snack bears would still be relevant. But this is not about car camping at a campground, because you have a place to store your food then, right? Assumptions for this talk. This one I will need to make sure I cover it all correct. We are not here to judge anybody. We all love and respect the outdoors. We're all intelligent people who will do the necessary research to do what we need to do. Purchase the necessary equipment and get trained to use it properly. We'll respect our own safety and the safety of others. None of us probably do leave no trace to the nth degree, right? I mean, we do it substantially. And we're all rational and practical, though, because some of these things, as you're going to see as I discuss it, because I'm very realistic in this discussion, some of it's hard to do. Well, that and that and that, right? How do we do all of it? I'm only covering the facts about bears that matter to us in relevance to this. I'm not covering all the biology of bears. Numbers I could find, prior to European colonization, this continent might have had about 2 million bears. Now we're slightly under 1 million bears. Bear's sense of smell is 7 times better, black bear's sense of smell is 7 times better than a bloodhound and 2,300 times better than ours. So when you think, well, I can't smell that, that's irrelevant. Black bears are omnivores. They eat everything. Plants, berries, flowers, roots, nuts, insects, carrion fish, baby deer, small animals, 85 to 90% plant matter, most active at dawn and dusk. They cover their home range might be about 15 square miles. So think, about a 4 by 4 mile square would be about that, right? Doesn't have to be square, but that much of a range. They travel along paths that can be human-made. I got a lot, when I knew I was giving this talk when I did that hike, this is just 3 of the pictures of bear poop that was on the trail. Okay, there was a lot of it. They move a long distance, even though their home range may only be a 4 square mile, a 15 square mile thing. You can look at the distances there. Sometimes bears have been moved because they become nuisance, and they will travel a great distance. Sometimes they get moved and they come back. Like one bear moved over 41 miles to get back to his range. You can move me if you want to, I'm coming back. I tried to look in every state that has segments of the Appalachian Trail and look at their, like in Virginia it's called Department of Wildlife Resources, it used to be called Department of Game and Fisheries, and look up what they could tell me about the numbers of bears. The first column is past numbers, the second column is current numbers. What you can see from this is the number is going up. You can take like Tennessee, think of Smoky Mountains is bordering North Carolina, Tennessee. In 1972, as a way of indicating how low the numbers were, the harvesting, hunting, there were only 7 bears killed that year. In 2018, it was 782, right? Huge increase. The good news is that means all this conservation stuff and the caring about animals is working. The bad news is that means there's going to be more human-bear encounters. This actually is what prompted this discussion. There was an article on this website, The Trek, and it talked about 2 through hikers that had a bear incident. Now, sometimes they call it bear encounter, and sometimes they call it attack, and this author of this article goes on. She referred to it as an attack. We'll decide whether you think it's an attack or an encounter. So they're hiking one day, they're heading north, they're getting near the James River, where the Appalachian Trail crosses the James River up in the mountains. And a hiker coming the other direction says, oh, you know, Mats Creek Shelter is closed. So they said, oh, okay, we were planning on staying there. So they stopped about 3/4 of a mile short of the shelter and said, oh, here's a tent spot, let's just set up our tent there. They, as sun is setting, they have their dinner, they climb in their tent, they're asleep. In less than an hour, they hear a large, what sounds like a large bear outside their tent, pawing and stomping, bluff charging, which is where a bear runs but stops before it runs into you, thankfully. And they're like, what the, we haven't done this yet, right? So they call 911, what do we do? I'm just trying to think like, wow, what would this be like? Because I didn't have any bear incident. Have any of y'all had a bear incident like this? No. Okay, so you can imagine you're in this tent, you're like, ooh, and so they start yelling and whacking the side of the tent trying to scare it away, and it's like, yeah, right. And so they're talking to 911, they get a deputy on there, and he says, stay in the tent. They're like, it doesn't feel safe staying in the tent. So they get somehow they get somebody deemed a wildlife expert in the article, and this person says, yeah, okay, go ahead and get out and get away from that bear. Duh. Okay, so they quickly get out, they see the bear, they slowly back away. That is a thing to do. Do not run. If you run from a bear, even though they are not typically things to chase people, they just takes up the predator instinct and they'll chase you, so you slowly back away, and they did. And that bear didn't follow them because now it had their camp, and he was happy, or she was happy. So they decided they're going to walk 3 miles to a road crossing. The deputy's supposed to come pick them up because it was at night now. They start walking, and a second bear comes after them. And they're like, damn. So they're like, what do we do? And they're still talking with the wildlife expert. And he says, do you got anything on you that could be attracting the bear? Well, one of them grabbed their pack. Drop the pack. So they dropped the pack. One of them found a candy bar wrapper in their pocket. Dropped that. Threw rocks at the bear. Finally, they got away from that one. They get down the road, blah, 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 went to the rest of the story. They went back the next day with the deputy with a shotgun. They found the pack. Far Out the app did cover this, which if you use Far Out the app, you'll see things that you might not otherwise know about. So they found out about this from another hiker, but if you were looking up ahead, you could already find out that this is one way. There are others. You don't need to read that. So there's the package mall. There's their food bag. Their food bag was hung well enough. The bear did not get that. At their camp, this is the pack that the guy dropped while they're hiking out at night. It's mauled. That's their food bag by their tent. It's still there. There's a claw mark in their tent. Their air mattress is clawed. Average bear size, black bear paw, average human male, 7.5 inches. That's how big that bear paw is. The one that was in camp. What they think was the one in camp was the mama. The one that followed them on the trail was a 2-year-old cub. What they think they did right, this is in the article. They hung the food right. No food in the tent. Made loud noises, called emergency service, didn't run, threw rocks at the bear. What they admit they might have done wrong. Well, if the Mats Creek Shelter was closed, maybe 3/4 of a mile is a bit too close to be to it. Cooked and ate dinner right next to the tent. But come on, that's common, okay? How many of you have been to an Appalachian Trail shelter, right? They look like...
They look like that. At every AT shelter I've seen, there's a picnic table right next to it. People eat food there, right? That's where it's almost always done. So when they say they did it wrong, everybody I know of does it wrong. Sorry about that. Snack bar wrapper in the pocket. Scented toiletries near tent, and I got icy hot in red. I'm not trying to say these people did it wrong, but just imagine the icy hot was in the female's pack that was, in the vestibule outside the tent. If they had put icy hot on themselves, maybe their legs were sore, right? The second bear, they say in the article, followed them. It ignored the pack when they first dropped it and kept coming after them. Most of the muscle relieving gels, liquid lotions, stuff like that I've seen have kind of a minty smell to it. No wonder the bear might have been following them. And if you put it on one day, you wouldn't smell it the next day, right? But their sense of smell is 2,300 times our sense of smell. They might still smell it. The warning there is every cosmetic toiletry thing you can imagine. What your goal is to make sure it doesn't have any scent to it. And, just do that to the extreme degree. That's why I say that, not to try to blame them, that they just mentioned icy hot in the article. They didn't use bear spray. Bear spray is not commonly carried by most people. If you're in grizzly bear country, you better carry bear spray. But bear spray is usually not carried for black bears. And they ran that charge on their phone. This thing was listed. The other way you can find out about closures of sections of trail or shelters is the Appalachian Trail Conservancy will post this, and you can find out about closures through them. Again, you can see far out. This shelter area had become a known area for this bear. This was a year before this incident, and they were already saying this bear tried to get in the shelter with them. Maybe it was same bear, maybe it was another bear. It was quite a chore. I looked, if you do open far out on your computer instead of your phone, you could search it. I searched every segment of the trail for the word bear in every place, and it seemed to me that the further south I was, the more bear incidents there were. The further north you went, the fewer there were. There are more bears in Maine than any other state that has the Appalachian Trail, yet I only found one bear incident in Maine that was reported on far out. There's the ATC form. They've been asking people since 2018 to report bear incidents. Yep. I asked ATC to give me the summary data of their bear incident report form for 22 and 23, and they did. North Carolina and Virginia have 60% of all the reports. Well, Virginia has 25% of the trail, so that's going to make it likely to have a large portion of it. And they do seem to have more bears the furthest, strangely, even though the historic range of black bears would be more north than south. There seem to be more incidents with bears further south. There were 35 bear encounters in 2022, 2032, and 2023, mostly in the spring, and then they pop up again in October. 85% of them, they only reported it to ATC. They didn't have to contact the police or whatever. Most of it could just be normal bear behavior. 80% of them, the bear was not aggressive to people. But there were a fair number where just ways that you might be able to scare the bear away didn't seem to work. These bears were no longer caring about us yelling at them. About half the reports were at campsite shelter areas, 20% existing user, these non-ATC official shelter sites with their tent sites that are created along the trail, which leaves about 25% for the other. I assume those were along the trail somewhere. The part of them that did involve food, about a little less than half the time, 43% of the time, the bear was able to get the food. And that's what the goal of this is, to not let the bear get the food. Because if all of us and all the people that are on the trail keep the bear from getting the food, the bear will go back to doing its natural stuff to get food. if it finds, oh, those people that carry things, they bring food, I'm just going to follow them. I'm not trying to stir the pot and make muddy water muddier, but we're going to see there's conflicting advice on what to do in these situations. Even amongst experts, I think we could consider, if you follow hikers, Andrew Skirka is an expert. He hiked more than 30,000 miles on several continents, around the world. He's done all this hiking, and that article, which I posted on the Trail Club Facebook page, and if you haven't been to it, go join the Trail Club Facebook group page. Make sure you're on the group one, and you can see this article. And he says, I use every method out there. You'll see him samples. He used canisters, sacks, regular bear. He even sleeps with it in his tent. He just admits this when he feels it's safe to do so. I wouldn't do that. But he's the expert. I'm just saying, there are people who are way better at this than you and me, and he uses every method on his own judgment at whatever risk he perceives. Remember they had a wildlife expert in that story, and the wildlife expert told him, drop the pack. Here's a photo I took in May of 2022 in Shenandoah National Park, and you can't read it there. It says, if you encounter a persistent or aggressive bear, this is not any bear, this is a persistent or aggressive bear, it says, keep your pack with you. Do not drop the pack. Why would they say this? Protect. It's not you. It seemed better that night. This person told the guy, drop the pack, right? It seems better for that guy that time, but you're training that bear. Oh, I charge people, I get their pack. Right? So this is the National Park Service in Shenandoah telling you, don't drop your pack. You're training that bear. I don't know if I said it, they also, we'll see later, sometimes you see advice, very calm to the bear, don't startle it, don't try to alarm it. But this thing says, shout and yell at the bear, try to do everything you can. If you happen to use trekking poles, do this. Be as big and artery-seeming as you can be to scare the bear away. Most bears will run. So that's the conflicting advice, right? Some people say, be really calm, don't act like you're going to get in a fight with the bear. And sometimes they say, yell at me crazy. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy, I just keep abbreviating ATC, here's their advice for avoiding bear encounters. Let bears know you're there when you're walking. I did most of my last 550-mile hike in that southern quarter of the trail by myself. I'd always end up at shelters with people, but a lot of times during the day I was by myself, and I didn't see a bear. I wanted to see a bear, but I know from a distance. But I didn't see a bear, except the one that was sounded like a jeep driving through the forest, brush. I sing poorly while I'm hiking, and I just make noise, and I think I just scared the bears away. They just get away from you when you're out on the trail, because I'm not giving them food then. That's Bob, I hike with him. Never leave your pack unattended. If you're more than an arm's reach away, this is ATC's, I cut and paste this. If you're more than an arm's reach away from your food, it should be stored. I probably don't do that. And I saw people at shelters that didn't do that, right? I mean, do you always keep your food that close to you? No. Have someone else in the group stay with it? Maybe, but there's a common thing is when you get to the shelter, you drop your packs here and you go over there in the shelter and start setting up stuff. I guarantee it's more than an arm's length away from you. Use extra caution if you're in an area where bear reports have been. That makes sense. Keep your dog on a leash. I read an article by the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. They say the two most common things they know of that cause bear incidents are dogs off leash and hunting. That's the thing that they know of that causes the most incidents. This is the speak calmly but firmly. I don't know exactly what that is, that bear lingo. But NPS said, yell, shout, be big. Avoid making eye contact. Okay, let's say there's a bear over there. I'm gonna go, right? You're gonna look at the bear. And I don't know if you can detect the difference in the angle of the, okay, I'm looking at your left, I'm looking at your left, but no, I'm not looking at your eyes. I think I'm gonna be looking at the bear. His perception is gonna be, I'm looking at him, right? I know what they mean by that, like, that's an animalistic thing, like, oh yeah, you come to me, yeah? You know? But in reality, I'm probably gonna be looking at him. Don't run. Don't play dead. The playing dead thing is with grizzly bears. If it's polar bear, they'll just kill you and eat you, you ain't getting away. But with a grizzly bear, you play dead if you can. I can't imagine when I'm mauling you, you can play dead. But that's what they say to try to do. With a black bear, you do not do that. If that black bear attacks you, if you have trekking poles, fight. If you have anything, you fight a black bear. You do not give up. You may get hurt, but you fight a black bear. If it starts doing this charging thing, I can't imagine how scary this must be. But this bear may look like it's charging you, and then he stops about there, and you go, and then he backs off. And I saw a video of it, and I'm like, oh my God, that bear would approach me because they would smell. Back away slowly, keep facing the bear. You got it. Back away slowly, keep facing the bear. Don't turn your back on the bear. But do it slowly, don't run. Store all food, waste trash. Don't burn food. In a lot of shelter areas or camp, these officially stealth sites that aren't too stealthy, they'll have little campfire rings. Don't burn trash there. Don't take some of your food and dig a little hole and bury it. We wouldn't smell that, but bears do. And they'll go dig up your food and they'll go, oh, this is one of those places to hang out because there's food here. Keep your bear canister closed and locked all the time. Cook and eat your meals 200 feet away from your tent or shelter. I think the picture was after this one. I got mixed up in the order. Let's do the show of cards then. Red or green? How many of you think when you get to camp and you're backpacking, not car camping, remember, we're talking backpacking, that you eat 200 feet, which would be about 70 paces away from a step like this. That's 70 of these, right? That's over there somewhere. How many of you think you do that? Hold up. Green for yes, red for no. Yeah, look at the room. Mostly no. It's just realistic. I mean, I know that is what they say to do. And if I were in grizzly bear country, I'd go 400 yards. But in black bear country, we just don't tend to do it. But maybe that's why these bear encounter incidents are on the rise. Be careful not to get food or scented items on your gear or clothes. All right, I'm eating. I don't have a sink there. You're eating, right? You eat something. It's on my hands. It's now on my pants. Some of us in the room, as I look around, have facial hair. I'm sure some of the food I ate got in my facial hair. I noticed, I knew my talk, and on Super Bowl Sunday I ate hot wings, and I got hot wings on all over this, right? I mean that's hot wings. I don't eat hot wings on the trail, but I got hot wings all over. I'm at a house. I went and washed my face, right? But I can't do that out in the woods. I'm sure I did not have, out in the woods, I did not have as much on my face as I did on Super Bowl Sunday, but I'm sure there's still something there, because one night in a shelter, the previous year when I was doing a quarter hike, I had a mouse run across my face at night. That freaked me out. There's the shelters. Don't leave food unattended yet. Don't burn wrappers and leftovers. Pack out all your food waste. how many of you have seen, just do a simple raise of hand this time, because there's no means no. How many of you have seen trash left at shelters, campsites, and stuff like that, wherever you backpack? Yeah. How many of you have taken other people's trash out? Because, see, we do that, that's good. Never sleep with your food. This question will come up again, I'll say it. I'm not playing this YouTube video, but this is an ATC video about food storage. They go over all the different methods of food storage, and toward the end of it, they reference this IGBC, interagency, meaning many agencies, Grizzly Bear Committee, the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee, and they reference you should use storage devices that are approved by them. They test them. I don't remember what every one of these agencies are. It's various, states that have lots of grizzly bears, and Department of Wildlife Resources, and pertinent to us in things we do here in the East. U.S. Forest Service and National Park Service are member agencies of the IGBC. You can go to their site, you can find bear-resistant products. Notice they call them bear-resistant, not bear-proof. None of them are bear-proof. If you are car camping, you can look up which coolers that you can take into your car camp with you that are IGBC, Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee approved, that are so tough a grizzly bear can't get into your cooler. But out there, if we're backpacking, we're not using a cooler. But you can look up the things that are IGBC approved. These bear vaults, like that, are approved. The bottom one, the EarthSack, like this, is approved. It's cloth. You would think a grizzly bear could get through it. It's made of a material that's so tough, grizzly bear claws can't get through it. This is the video of it if it plays. It's not playing. I'll put the link to it online. I'm sorry, it did play. It shows two grizzly bears mauling one of these, and they put something inside it that would have a scent that keeps the grizzly bears clawing at it, and they can't do it. That's what IGBC required to approve this storage device. U.S. Forest Service Southern Region, where we are, there's their description of what they say is food storage to be properly stored, and you can look through the list, and this was put out in the Trail Club, and the ATC was influenced by this, and it says, these are the things: commercially made bear-resistant canister. You could get something that looks like a plastic canister, but that's not bear-proof or bear-resistant, okay? It has to be something that is IGBC approved. And things like, we don't carry electric fences out there with us. F, using personal food hangs with a specification of 6 foot from the tree trunk. So the tree here, the limb going out, it's got to be 6 feet away from the trunk of the tree, hung 6 feet below the branch, but still 12 feet off the ground. The trouble is, in mature eastern forests, there aren't always trees that have limbs that allow that. I don't try to be a pain in the bleed, but I am. So I wrote to U.S. Forest Service Southern District and asked them, because they recommend those hard-sided canisters, even though they also say use IGBC approved storage devices. But then they say, well, only these. And it seems kind of conflicting to me, okay? So I wrote to them basically and asked, well, why not just any of them? And there are pros and cons. His answer back was, there are pros and cons to all of them. Well, sweet. And there's a myriad of factors. National forest leaders, federal land agencies, private landowners, blah, 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 blah. It's more complex than just following IGBC standards. I could reach out to ATC, Forest Service, if you want to know more. I wrote him back a second time. He didn't reply the second time. Well, I don't know who he or she is. It was signed not with a name, it was duty officer. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be a pain in the rear. I'm just trying to understand what seems, like if it says, we promote use of IGBC storage devices, and this is IGBC approved, then why not? In Chattahoochee, Oconee, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and the Appalachian Trails Company, and it says there from March 1st, 2012 to June 1st, 2016, but that's kind of ambiguous. It really means March 1st to June 1st of every year. And it lasts from 2012 to 2016. Bear-resistant canister must be commercially made, constructed of solid, non-pliable materials manufactured for a specific purpose of resisting entry by bears. These, not necessarily this name brand, but it has to be the hard-sided plastic container, not that one. Why would it only be in effect from March 1st to June 1st? The bears are still there after June 1st. Any guesses? I don't know the answer to this. I'm guessing also. Anybody have a guess why it would go out on June 1st? The what? Okay, other food things, right? Come out after that, okay, possibly. My guess is through hikers. The through hiker bubble is coming through there, and they start as early as February, and then some of them start in April. They're going to be out of here by then, and they would lovingly refer to themselves as hiker trash. I mean, they're just grungy. He said I smelled when I was out there, and they just aren't all the cleanest folks, and they're not all the leave no trace principle stuff. They just leave a lot of waste out there, and I think the bears learn, oh, this is that time of year. Let's eat the stuff from them. That is that area, Girard to Neal's Gap, and it says there March 1 to June 1 each year. And notice ATC says approved IGBC containers. That particular one did, and these are all pulled off their site. It's still current. They don't say the hard plastic was there. So I wrote to URSAC. This is mine, by the way. I own that. That's what I used for now, until I can. I asked them, well, why do you think different agencies approve it and don't, and different places do and different places don't? And they said they've been fighting and they don't understand why. Because in that picture, the green ones are places that are approved to use URSACs. The yellows are like partial approval at maybe at times or whatever, and the reds are no. Anything north is definitely black bear country. The farthest north one up there in Alaska is Denali. The other one is, what's that place in Alaska that's got the Brooks Falls? Katmai National Park, yeah, thank you. They're all, Denali and Katmai are known for grizzly bears, but they got huge concentrations of black bears too. All those ones along the northern U.S.-Canada border, grizzly bears and black bears. And strangely, the red one over here in the east is Shenandoah National Park, but one of those green ones down below it is Smoky Mountain National Park. Smoky Mountain National Park has so many black bears, they're roughly one bear per every 2 square miles. That's a lot of bears. Yet they approve them. So I can use this in Smoky Mountain National Park. I can't use this in Shenandoah National Park. You gotta admit that seems kind of strange. Perfection is the enemy of progress, right? ATC said that the standard bear hang is the problem because people don't do it right. It's hard to do right. And there aren't limbs that make it possible for you to do right. So some people are hanging, I've seen people bear hang on flimsy little trees that make me think of the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And they're hanging a 10 or 12 pound food bag on it, and the limb is going, right? So we should at least be going towards the things that are better. So I just gave examples of the three, the Dyneema bear bag, that one that I own that I used to use, the lightest weight thing, you have to do the standard bear hang with that, the 6 feet out, 6 feet down, 12 feet off the ground thing. Not always easy to do. The other one's a Ursack. I tried to pick ones that were comparable volume. So notice that's 10.7 liter, that just also happens to be 10.7 liter. The one I looked at, Bear Vault, they have a 7.2, and sorry, it went off the screen there. Oh, I'm sorry, 11.5 liters, so they don't have the exact same ones. But that's around 3 ounces, that's around 8 ounces. Those are like, 2 pound or 2.5 pound. And rigid, which is, has issues when you're packing. All right, now let's get those cards out again. Now I'm going to ask you what you do. Which one is your favorite? Not which one have you ever done. Which one is your favorite? Now use all 4 cards. Use the red card, if you use hard-sided bear canister. That's the one you do the most. The yellow one, B, if you use something like the Ursack. C, a traditional bear bag, hung in a tree. Or D, you sleep with it the most. Which one is yours? Raise them up so we can get a rough tally here. I don't remember what they are, but I see more greens. I see more greens and reds. Look around, I think I see mostly greens. So most people are doing the traditional bear bag. I did see some, mix of reds and yellows. Okay, so that's kind of what I expected. I did not. Did anybody? I'm going to call you out. I'm trying to. Did anybody say D? You sleep with it? Okay, as your most frequent, right? We may have done it sometime, but at this range of question, it was the most frequent. This page will be different. Now just red and green card for yes and no. How many of you even own a hard plastic canister like the Bear Vault? How many of you own one of those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only see about 5 or 6 greens. And y'all are like virtual experts. And there's only, out of all of you, there's only like 6 of you that have them. How many of you occasionally suspend your bag from the roof structure in the AT shelter? So like you're sleeping there and your bag is there.
So maybe that's a food bag, but other stuff.
Your other stuff is there, but your food bag's there. I did it once on my latest quarter hike because I was in the shelter with other people who refused to put their bags anywhere else, and I'm like, what the hell am I hanging it over there for? This guy's got, chicken chow mein, and he has that, and it's there. How many of you occasionally take your food into the tent with you? Just show me let's just do the green ones. How many of you occasionally take your food in the tent with you? There's a few. I don't do that, but I've done hanging in the shelter, and I'm right there. I'm like, okay, yeah, you'll get me. So how many of you store your food properly? It's hung, it's in a canister, but you bring a candy bar or something, to bed with you, because man, that's a long night, and I'm going, at home I stay up till 11 o'clock, but out here I'm going to bed at 8:30 or something like that, and I can't get out of bed till morning. This is a long night. I want a candy bar, or protein bar, granola bar, something, right? How many greens? Go ahead, raise them green ones. How many of you take something to bed with you to eat? And we already went over not many of us really go 200. I'm supposed to be feet, I accidentally typed 0.2. Now the pros and cons of each one. Pros and cons of just putting it in the tent with you, or the shelter. It's easy. It's there all night if you decide, I'm hungry, I still want some. It's safe from rain because you don't have to set it up. Secure and freezing tents inside your tent. If it's tenting, it is warmer, it might protect it. In a shelter wouldn't. Some people can see, I got an argument with one lady, well, not vicious argument, no, discussion kind of argument with someone about like the safety. She goes, I've hiked like from Delaware Water Gap down to, we were approaching Smoky Mountain. She said, I've gone from Delaware Water Gap to here. I haven't had any problem. I've slept with my food bag in my tent the entire time. I go, y'all may not be able to tell it, but I've never been in a fatal car accident. But I still know that driving is probably the most dangerous part of my hike. And just because you haven't been in a fatal car accident yet, doesn't mean you go, oh, I don't need to wear a safety belt. And your clothes and hands probably have smell on them anyway, so why, if the bear sense of smell is that good, does moving my bag make a difference? If I put my bag in one of those op sacks or the smelly poof bags, does my face and hands and pants still smell more than the food that's inside an op sack? I don't know. I'm not a bear. The cons, it is the most dangerous. Let's just go ahead and say it. It's the most dangerous, right? And rodents can eat it. You'll see later about rodents eating through things. How about the standard PCT food handling? Remember, ATC says this is the worst one because of the difficulties of doing it properly. But the pros are, it's easy if you know how to do it. I'd say by my 14th day on the trail, I was good at it. It's lighter than any of the other methods except taking it in a tent with you. It's waterproof if your bag is waterproof, usually protective against rodents because it's up there. And it's easy to put in your backpack. The cons, high chance of bears getting to it. Successful only if you have the skill and you're lucky enough that there's the right kind of tree around there. Limbs that are really appropriate for this are hard to find. Takes time. At the end of the day, you're tired and you've eaten and you want to go to bed and, oh, I forgot to hang my bag. And it's not scent-proof unless you put it in the food bag in it, because this is just cloth that scent goes through. And it's pain. Yeah, I really don't want to go out there and do this in the wind and rain and snow. My hands are cold. ERSAC, it's IGBC approved for the thing we're trying to avoid, getting the bear rewarded with getting to your food. Your food's going to get crushed. It's going to be dust. But I've still satisfied the goal of not feeding the bear. So that bear, he or she is not learning to attack my bag because it got food. It's easier than hanging over a limb. You just tie it around the base of a tree. It's lighter than a canister. It's easier to pack. Usually protective against rodents. Doesn't take as long to do as the PCT method of hanging it. Only requires a tree trunk, not a specific limb. Cons. Probably not quite as safe as the canister. Not really waterproof. The bag I put inside it makes it waterproof, but the bag itself is not fully waterproof. It's water resistant. Not scent-proof unless you put an odor-proof bag in it. You still have to deal with the rain and the snow and cold hands. Canister, pros, safest. Makes a good camp chair too. It's fast. You put your food in, put it over there, you're done. Just make sure it's not on a hillside. The bear will play with this. If the bear can't get to it, they'll still play with it. And if it's on a hill, it'll roll your canister down there. It's fast. It's rainproof. It's road-proof. And you don't have to worry about finding the right limb. Cons, it's the heaviest. It doesn't conform to the pack. It's hard to pack. You'll lose storage space because of its non-conforming kind of thing. It's not easy to put inside your pack. It's not ergonomic. It's expensive. The acceptance rate of this is low. You notice in here, not many people had it. And ATC even admits the acceptance rate is low, except in the places where they mandate that you do it. And it says something that backpackers just aren't really catching on to this or accepting this method. Ergonomics of it, if you have I'm going to act this part out. You got your backpack on with your
4 or 5 days worth of food, this thing is, at least 12 to 15 pounds, right? Putting it here, when you walk, you're doing this. I'm exaggerating, but you're doing this. I know we are, because Bob used to carry a tea kettle on the back of his pack, and he's a guy, he doesn't do the cute walk, and I walk behind him, it's not cute, okay? And his tea kettle would wobble back and forth, and I had my whistle one time, and it was doing this. So even as bland as I walk, it wobbles back and forth. This will fatigue you, it's extra energy, your muscles will be sore to some degree at the end of the day, and I'm top heavy. If I'm, whoa, right, this is potential to make me fall because it's top heavy. If you strap it at the bottom of your pack like this, I now have a fat butt. And what you're likely to do when you're walking is do this to compensate for it. When it's up here, it's a very slight lean of my body. I can still maintain a nice upright posture so my back doesn't hurt. When it's down here, the most likely thing people will do is hinge like this to account for it. That makes it bad on your back.
Some people take the food out of the canister, put it in their pack, carry the empty canister up here or down here. Okay, but that's a big chore. ATC recommends bear-resistant canisters. See, they just say bear-resistant canisters there. They only cover 2 of them. I'm not showing if there is a Bear box, the metal box, if there are the cable system or a pole, use it. But if there aren't those things, and it's the ones we have to provide, they mainly cover 2 things. The regular food bag hang, and they go over the pros and cons of it. And I only highlighted and read that this is what their page says. IGBC containers that are approved. And notice they say, camper compliance varies, compliance increases if required. Well, yeah, I mean, if I can't stop here, and in that Chattahoochee, Oconee area where Blood Mountain is, rangers walk through there, and if they catch you without one, it's like $100 and something fine. I did Google Nick James Bard to now Gemini, so I asked Google AI, and it said everything I said to you, so I was like, I'm as smart as AI. Not really. This was a question I ran across was, and Bob and I talked about it, like, the packaging that like freeze-dried food comes in, like Mountain House or any of those other brands, those things are supposed to last 25 to 30 years. They do. I'm not trying to insult the people that are preppers, but preppers buy those things because they think somewhere the apocalypse is coming and their food's still going to be good 30 years from now. If it's 30-year, that packaging was 30-year rated, it's impermeable, because if air got through it, the food would spoil in less than 25 or 30 years. So that means even the 2,300 time better sense of smell than us, the bear can't smell it. So do I need to put it in a canister? Yes, because bears just look at stuff and go, let me go paw that thing. And if they paw it and it breaks open, then they do get the food, and you're still teaching the bear, just go paw everything those people have. Just paw it. Maybe food pops out. It's a piñata. Relative risk. Okay, all those mere million black bears in this country, black bears kill roughly 1 person a year. And some of them, like in Virginia, it's people with dogs off leash and hunters. It doesn't mean these are backpackers. There's just 1 person a year gets killed by a black bear. There's 20,000 people roughly murdered, 42,000 killed on the roads every year. Hornets, bees, and wasps kill 62 people a year. Deer vehicle collision, that's why I say driving to your hike is the most dangerous part of your hike. 440 fatalities, 59,000 injuries. Now small bears, the nickname for mice. Every shelter I've been to had mice. You see them. I mean, how many of you see the mice at shelters, right? They're there. This is the ATC Field Maintenance Guidebook. Can't see it highlighted in green there. It says, what's it say, Bob?
Shelters should be kept free from rodents.
From bear and rodent problems. John, Thima, is our shelters free of rodent problems?
Absolutely not.
So I asked ATC.
Get enough snakes there.
You're going to see a picture in a minute. I asked ATC, would you suggest that trail clubs put mouse traps? I'm not saying leave the mouse traps there. I'm saying while we're there, mouse trap them. You know, at least cut down on the numbers. It will be attempting to do what this book says. They said no. I don't know. Mice in shelters, they carry diseases. I'll just give you a few. Hantavirus, Salmonella, and they are the primary vector for Lyme disease. You know, it's hard. We observed a hiker when Bob and I were hiking from Atkins to Damascus. We observed a guy carrying mouse traps. Some of the thru hikers do this if they start early, they'll carry mouse traps, and they trap them, and they're helping us all by cutting down on numbers. I don't mean to offend anybody with this idea of like people out there in the woods that are killing mice, but you probably trap mouse at home, don't you? If you had a mouse in your house, you trap it. And you don't go, oh, I don't want to do that. So we saw this guy in the Thomas Knob shelter near Mount Rogers. There were 6 mice trapped in one night. One night. There's some cute mice. Oh, aren't they cute? There's some dead ones. And there's a snake. Mice attract snakes. And that's a black snake, but it could be a poisonous snake. The Greenbelly, a company that produces food, they was talking about one night he accidentally left a candy bar wrapper or some scented thing in a pocket, and a mouse chewed through his clothing, his raincoat, to get to it. And I've heard other stories of people sleeping with food in their tent, and the mouse just chewed right through the side of their tent to get to it. Leila was telling me the story of someone with there's always this facial hair thing comes up. Someone, when they were doing a thru hike, a guy with a long beard woke up in the middle of the night. There was a mouse eating the food crumbs that were in his beard. They're just annoying. So the moral of this presentation is a book, children's book. If you give a mouse a cookie or a bear a cookie, they'll come back. The goal is to not give them food, right? Or whatever you do. Thank you.